Hi, welcome to my 8th video. This one's going to be a little bit different than the previous ones. First off, you may notice that I look nicer. I'm using a new camera. So I've been using a webcam before this, and now I am attempting to do videos with an actual camera, Sony a6100 if you're curious. Also, I'm trying to change the style of my videos up a little bit more. So my goal is to actually make the videos more of a clean cut. That may mean there are more ums and word mixes up, but hopefully it'll also feel more natural. Okay, so this video is how to talk to your DM. 6 do's and 2 don'ts. Basically, I've seen a lot of conversations about people will say, hey, talk to your DM, but then no one ever says how to do it. Hopefully this is just going to give some general good advice about, some of it's just applicable across the board. It's how do you talk to other people about potential conflict, things that are uncomfortable, how do you have those conversations, but specifically in the terms of a player talking to their DM. First off, 1. Set expectations. That means ask ahead about having a conversation. Don't just spring it on them. Your DM is a person too, right? They have a schedule, they have a life. Running this D&D game isn't their entire life, unless they're Matt Mercer or something. It turns out that's not actually his entire life either. He's still like a voice actor for other things. But anyway, your DM is a person, and they're going to respond better if they have time to expect something. You don't want to have a sudden email or phone call at a random hour when you might be doing other things. It's just not going to go over as well as if you say, hey, can we chat about some things about our D&D game? There's some stuff I'm trying to figure out, work through. And you may notice something in there is you're asking as a question, you're asking for their help. We'll get into this in later steps, but you're not immediately attacking them or accusing them of things. You're asking to have a conversation. You're asking to have a dialogue. The second do is protect yourself. Now, maybe this goes without saying, but it's really easy to go into something like this and feel like I'm starting this conversation, therefore I have to deal with whatever comes at me. No. The moment that things are not okay, that can be them behaving inappropriately, them getting angry, them attacking you, or you just feeling uncomfortable. It is always okay to step back and say, I need to go away now. I need to protect myself. You can try to have a conversation later, depending, or if it means, hey, this is not working, this conversation led nowhere, and I need to leave this group, that is always okay. Your first responsibility is to yourself, so protect yourself. Now, alongside that is one of my 2 don'ts. Don't accuse. Don't say, you did this, you messed up, you hurt me. As soon as you start saying those yous, basically you're escalating conflict. Instead of having a dialogue, you're putting the other person on the defensive. And even though one hopes that as a DM, one's goal is to lead and protect a group, as the person who's initiating the conversation, you still have to deal with the results therein. So don't accuse. Sort of alongside this is the third do ask questions. Don't just tell the DM what's what. Ask them, ask their opinion, ask them, hey, how do I do this better? Hey, this thing is happening. How can we change it? As soon as you're asking them questions, you're inviting them into the conversation. You're asking them to be involved. You're inviting them to be involved. And that tends to have much, much better results. 4th do is have specific actionable requests. When you go into this conversation, have specific things. Have specific goals. Maybe your group has too much of a focus on conflict, or maybe your group is too much of murder hobos, or maybe you feel like you're not able to get a word in edgewise, or you feel like the DM is taking over your character at times when you want to make decisions and making decisions about your character you don't want. All of these are things that you want to change. So have specific requests. Say, hey, is there a chance that we could break out 10 minutes of every session to have role-playing opportunities, maybe around the campfire during long rests, things like that? Or, hey, can you specifically not take over my character ever? Or can you ask my permission before you do a thing, whether it's in the session or beforehand? Having those very specific things gives your DM something they can do, that you're asking for, that they can intentionally, measurably do to fix the problem. The 5th do is do seek compromise. Ask for specific things, but your DM may have things they need as well. They may have ways that they specifically want the story to go, and so they may ask you, hey, I want to do that, but I'm having trouble fitting this in. So maybe instead of 10 minutes of role-playing time, there's 5 minutes of role-playing time. Maybe they need to be able to take control of your character for story reasons once in a while, but they are willing to talk with you and understand better what your character would do and make sure that they're not doing things that feel out of character for you. That said, our second don't is don't be a people pleaser. Just because you've had this conversation doesn't mean you have to do whatever the DM wants. If the compromise doesn't fix the problem, it's not a compromise. And similarly, if they're not willing to work with you, sometimes you have to go back to the second do. Protect yourself. Because if you're not protecting yourself, then it's not a safe place, and that's not a good place to roleplay. You won't have fun, you won't be successful, because part of your brain will always have to be worrying about who's going to attack you next, what's going to go wrong, how do you protect yourself, instead of being in a safe space to explore characters together. So don't be a people pleaser. Seek compromise, but don't be a people pleaser. And finally, the last thing is say thank you. However things go, tell your DM thank you. Say thank you for listening. Thank you for having this conversation. Thank you, even if the result of the conversation is that you need to walk away from this group, if you need to find a different group, thank them for their time. Obviously, there's going to be edge cases where you need to just walk away and leave them right there, right then. They were completely inappropriate. Protect yourself before you say thank you. But say thank you. Generally speaking, DMs put a lot of work into what they do, and they want to make a good game and a good story for their players. Saying thank you goes a long ways to making them feel like you are listening to them and caring about them and wanting to work together to make things better, not just trying to throw a storm. I hope these 6 do's and 2 don'ts were helpful. I hope this information, I know it's fairly vague. It's going to be slightly different with any specific situation, but hopefully they gave you things to start thinking about in how to talk to your DM. Let me know about what you thought about these, if you have any specific questions or situations that arise that you could use advice with, and also just how do you like this style of video? It's a little bit different. It's a little bit probably dirtier cut in whatever sense, but let me know what you think. And as always, if you enjoy this content, please give me a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. Till next time, keep telling stories.